client called me on a Tuesday morning in March, sounding like she'd been punched. She'd just found out her office manager, someone she'd trusted for 6 years, someone who'd been to her kids' birthday parties, had been stealing from her for over 2 years. Not dramatically, not all at once. $40 here, $80 there, a vendor payment routed to a personal account, an expense reimbursement for receipts that didn't exist. When I sat down with the books and spent a week going through everything, the total came to $67,000. Gone. And the most painful part? Every single transaction was recorded in QuickBooks. The evidence had been sitting right there for 2 years. Nobody looked. I'm Bev from bookkeepingcoach.net. I hate finding fraud. In 30 years of bookkeeping, nothing feels worse than sitting across from a business owner and showing them that someone they trusted betrayed them. But I'm finding it more and more. And the pattern is almost always the same. Not that fraud happened, that nobody was looking for it. If you have employees who touch your finances and you've never done a fraud review, this video is for you. She ran a mid-sized marketing agency, about $1.4 million in revenue, 8 employees. Her office manager handled accounts payable, expense reimbursements, petty cash, and reconciled the bank accounts. The owner trusted her completely, which is exactly why the fraud worked. Here's what was actually happening. The office manager had set herself up as a vendor in QuickBooks. She created a vendor record under her initials, linked it to her personal checking account, and processed small payments to herself disguised as contractor fees and software subscriptions. Each payment was under $500. None of them were large enough to catch the owner's eye on a bank statement. She was also submitting expense reimbursements for receipts she'd slightly altered, adding a digit here, changing the date there so she could submit the same purchase twice. With a busy owner who signed off on reimbursements in batches, nobody caught the duplicates. And on 3 occasions over 2 years, she rerouted an actual vendor payment. The real vendor got paid, but she changed the routing number for the first attempt, pocketed the money, and when it rejected, then processed the payment correctly. So the vendor never complained. The reason nobody caught it for 2 years? She was also the one doing the bank reconciliation. She reconciled the account to match what she'd entered in QuickBooks, not to match reality. The books balanced. That's the trap. Reconciled doesn't mean accurate when the person reconciling is the one stealing. When I went through everything, here's what we found. 41 fraudulent vendor payments totaling $28,400. Duplicate or inflated expense reimbursements totaling $19,600. 3 intercepted vendor payments totaling $11,200. Unexplained petty cash discrepancies, $7,800, for a total of $67,000. Here's what made this fraud possible. One person had access to create vendors, process payments, reconcile accounts, and approve reimbursements. That's called a lack of segregation of duties, and it's the single biggest fraud risk in any small business. When one person controls the entire payment cycle with no second set of eyes, you don't need a dishonest employee. You just need an employee who eventually becomes one. You don't need to be a forensic accountant to catch fraud signals in your books. Here's what I look for first. 1. Vendors you don't recognize. Pull your vendor list quarterly and ask yourself, do I know who every single one of these is? A vendor with initials instead of a business name? A vendor with no address? A vendor you can't remember engaging? Investigate it. Number 2, employees who are also vendors. This should never happen. If someone on your payroll also appears in your vendor list, you need to know why immediately. 3, payments just below your review threshold. If you review anything over $500 and a fraudster pays themselves $480, look at the pattern, not just the amount. 4, one person handling the full payment cycle, creating the vendor, entering the bill, approving the payment, and reconciling the account should never all belong to the same person. Even in a small business with limited staff, you can add a second set of eyes on any one of those steps. 5, reconciliations you never see. If someone else does your bank reconciliation and you never review it, you have no idea if it's accurate. The bank reconciliation report should land in your inbox every single month, and you should scan it with your own eyes. 6, expense reimbursements with no receipts or vague descriptions. Supplies for $340 and no receipt should require an explanation before it gets paid. Every single time. Fraud almost never announces itself. It hides inside normal-looking transactions in a well-organized QuickBooks file. The protection isn't suspicion, it's process. So if you have employees who touch your finances, what are your options? Option 1 is assume the people you trust won't steal from you. Most of them won't, but the ones who do are often people you trusted the most, because trust is exactly what enabled the access. Option 2, do a basic fraud review yourself. Pull your vendor list, review your bank reconciliations, look at reimbursement patterns, check whether any one person controls the full payment cycle. A few hours of focused review can surface red flags you've never noticed. Option 3, get the training to understand what fraud looks like in your books, what controls to put in place, and how to structure your processes so that fraud is hard to do and easy to catch. The hardest part of fraud prevention isn't the technical side. It's deciding that it could happen to you. Because until you believe that, you won't even look. If what you just heard sounds familiar, you're in the right place. At bookkeepingcoach.net, we have courses designed specifically for small business owners who want to understand their numbers, protect their business, and stop finding out about expensive problems too late. Step-by-step training from 30 years of real-world experience. No judgment, no jargon, just practical knowledge that saves you real money. Head on over to bookkeepingcoach.net and find the course that fits where you are right now. The link is in the description below. Subscribe for more QuickBooks and financial management, and I will see you in the next video.